Well, September and October 2025 are over, so now, let's go back and recap some lost media found in those months. But before we do that, I just want to thank you guys so much for all your positive reception towards my last lost media found in 2025 video. Not only did it become my most viewed video on my channel, but also my first video to surpass over 100,000 views, which was one of my YouTube goals that I always wanted to achieve. So once again, I want to thank you guys for giving the video so much attention and positive reception, as it makes me very happy to see all the hours I spent making it pay off in the end. And now, without further ado, I'll start the video. So in my last lost media found in 2025 video, I got a lot of comments regarding two entries that were about the British children's show Roary the racing car. And by some coincidence, a piece of lost media that is related to the show got found during the span of September to October 2025. And since a lot of you guys enjoyed my two Roary the racing car entries from my last non-YouTube short video, or at the very least were interested in them, I thought it would be a good idea to mention this American dubbed episode of Roary the racing car that got found on September 3rd, 2025, which was found by YouTuber Zero Luck Canuck, who found the previous two American dubbed episodes. And as you can see, the episode is titled Maxi's New Engine, which is a rare and hard to find American dubbed episode from the series, which are mostly lost, leaving less than half of them entirely found or partially found. Also, in case you were wondering why I didn't go into detail about the show, well, I already did that in my previous video in this series. And to avoid sounding like a broken record player, I decided to ignore mentioning any details about the series. But you can see me mention the networks the show aired on and what its premise was in my previous lost media found in 2025 video if you are curious. YouTube Poop Meet the Mama Luigi was a YouTube video that was created and uploaded by MysteryMan826, who is now known as Verity Chris, back in 2011 when he was 11 years old. And the video would be available to watch on YouTube until some point in the 2010s. When it was taken down by YouTube for copyright infringement. After the video was taken down, it would become lost for many years, with it never getting a single re-upload, and leaving behind only a single trace of its existence, which was a grainy recording of a child watching the video on his laptop, which was discovered and discussed in a video about lost media by Pig Gamer, who has numerous videos about lost media on his channel if any of you are looking for lost media content to watch. And upon uploading the video, it would spark a small search from the lost media community to find the entire version of it, which, long story short, would recently come to an end on September 4th, 2025, when ex-user Bentley Smacks got into contact with Verity Chris himself and got him to share the video with everyone again, after he downloaded it from YouTube Studio before uploading it to the Internet Archive, making it no longer lost. In June 1988, a movie called Who Framed Roger Rabbit would be released in theaters in the US, which takes place in 1947 Hollywood, where humans and cartoon characters, who are referred to as toons, coexist together, with it being well known for combining live action and animation together to create a world where acting and animation exist together on screen. Based on the 1981 novel Who Censored Roger Rabbit, the film centers around a private investigator named Eddie Valiant, who is played by Bob Hoskins, who has a grudge against toons. And throughout the film, he tries to exonerate a toon named Roger Rabbit, who is voiced by Charles Fleischer, who has been framed for murder. The film would go on to be a box office success, and become the second highest grossing film of 1988, behind the movie Rain Man, with it not only winning multiple awards, but also bringing renewed interest in the golden age of American animation. That lasted from the date of Disney's Steamboat Willie cartoon releasing on November 18, 1928 to the early 1960s, with its success also spearheading the Disney Renaissance that lasted from 1989 to 1999. And considering that the film was a success, it's no surprise that another film starring Roger Rabbit was planned twice, with those films being titled Roger Rabbit 2, The Toon Platoon, and Who Discovered Roger Rabbit, with the latter, which is what this entry is about, being planned in the late 90s as a prequel to the original movie, with it being directed by Steven Spielberg, and its story centered around Roger's rise to stardom on Broadway and in Hollywood. Who Discovered Roger Rabbit was also going to have CGI animation along with the live-action actors mixed with traditional animation, making it pretty much similar to what the first film had in terms of what is being featured, with its animation being developed by someone named Jim Pentecost, who was known for producing the Disney movie Pocahontas. However, it eventually got scrapped due to it having a projected budget that was simply too high, making it too risky to produce out of fear that it might not significantly make more than its budget at the box office. Although I should mention that there were rumors of a Roger Rabbit sequel being worked on in 2009, which was years after Who Discovered Roger Rabbit got scrapped. However, those rumors were never confirmed to be true, and it was also suspected that a Who Framed Roger Rabbit sequel was underway at Image Movers Digital, before it went bankrupt after the commercial failure of their 2011 movie Mars Needs Moms. After the film got scrapped, it was quickly forgotten about with few material from it surfacing prior to September 2025, which were a song called This Only Happens in the Movies that was going to be in the film, an early draft for it that was given out by a script collector, and a 10-second clip from a 1998 animation pitch test for the movie. However, more material from the film would surface on September 6, 2025, when a much later dated draft for it that was dated November 20th, 1998 was found and uploaded to the Internet Archive. Gold Diggers of Broadway is a 1929 musical comedy film that was directed by American filmmaker Roy Del Roof and produced and directed by Warner Bros. Pictures, which starred American stage and motion picture actress Winnie Leitner and American jazz singer and guitarist Nick Lucas. And, fun fact about the film, it was the second all-talking, all-Technicolor feature-length film ever released, right after the film On With the Show, which was also released by Warner Bros. In 1929. Based on the 1919 play The Gold Diggers, Gold Diggers of Broadway was known to feature a glimpse of the world during the 1920s flapper era, right before the era would come to an end when the Great Depression happened. And it was a huge success at the box office, with it grossing almost $4 million worldwide, as well as making Winnie Leitner a worldwide star and boosting Nick Lucas's music career to fervor fame, with the two songs he sang in the film eventually becoming well-known 1920s classics, which were Painting the Clouds with Sunshine and a little song you guys might have come across on social media before called Tiptoe Through the Tulips, which would later be covered by Tiny Tim in 1968, which is the version of the song that went viral online. But despite the film being very popular, the majority of its runtime is currently lost as of now, which is due to it being filmed on Vitaphone sound-on-disc reels and was spread across 10 different reels of 35mm nitrate film, before it eventually was destroyed over time, possibly due to Warner Bros. Having destroyed many of their 35mm nitrate films in the late 1940s and 1950s, due to many old nitrate films decomposing over time and making their playback quality significantly worse. And considering that the film came out in the 1920s, which was a time when nitrate films were still being used as the support base for filming, it is no surprise that it suffered the same fate as many films made before the 1930s. However, the entirety of Gold Diggers of Broadway's soundtrack did manage to survive, along with various footage from multiple reels. As of now, the most recent piece of footage from Gold Diggers of Broadway that got found was some footage that is over 13 seconds in length. That was recently found on September 13th, 2025 by a YouTube channel named Old Films and Stuff, which can still be watched on YouTube as of now.
It must be in my name. You imagine that, guy? No, you're just a type. Well, of course, I think what Topsy was just telling us in the bedroom is very interesting.
Well, it's this way. When I want one thing, I don't run after it.
Well, you should.
On September 14th, 1999, a book and audio cassette combo would be released called What to Do Blue that was tied to the Nick Jr. show Blue's Clues, which were both released after the book was released by itself somewhere in June of 1999. And what's interesting about the cassette combo is that it featured narration by the series co-creator Angela C. Santomero. The audio that went along with the book would end up becoming lost and fall into obscurity along with the book. But despite the cassette combo being obscure, an allmusic.com page for it was surprisingly created, which includes some of the very few sources for information about its release. And also, most people didn't even know about the cassette combo's existence due to it selling poorly since it didn't get advertised well enough, which explains why it's almost impossible to find any listings online for What to Do Blue and its narration audio together. Recently, on September 17th, 2025, a Lost Media Wiki user named Idiot Volume 3 uploaded the full audio of the cassette to YouTube, albeit in poor quality, making the entire narration for the book available to listen to, although it is currently unknown if there were any commercials or any other advertisements to promote the book and tape combo besides advertisements in the booklets of CDs.
Mailbox was waiting for the mail person to deliver some letters.
Almost mail time. Just waiting on the mail person, and then it'll be mail time.
Wait, I have an idea. Let's all sing the mail song, okay?
Slime Time Live was a Nickelodeon game show that aired from 2000 to 2004, in between regular programs that aired on weekdays after school, with it being hosted by Dave Iser, Jessica Holmes, and Jonah Travick. And it was initially devised as a promotional vehicle for Nickelodeon's launch of a revival of another one of their shows, Double Dare, that was called Double Dare 2000. The show featured kids competing in a series of interactive games that are similar to those in Double Dare and its subsequent incarnations, with it known to have its hosts slime their live audience with Nickelodeon's iconic green slime, before they would choose a contestant, make them sit in a chair, and ask them a question. And if the contestant answered correctly, they would get a bucket of slime poured on them, which was eventually changed to 2 buckets before later being changed to 3. And also, the show was known to have their audience members, contestants, hosts, celebrity guests, and staff caught on camera get pied in the face. Also, fun fact, the show currently holds 2 Guinness World Records, which are for the most people pied in 3 minutes, which is 1,000 people in 2001, and most people slimed, which is 762 people that was done during the show's finale on July 2nd, 2004. According to the Lost Media Wiki, Slime Time Live aired over 810 episodes in a span of 8 seasons, with it airing an additional 20 episodes as part of its summer edition called Summer Slime Live, which aired in August 2003. And as of making this video, only 32 episodes from the main series and Summer Slime Live are entirely found, which pales in comparison to the 798 episodes that still have yet to be completely found. So we have a lot of work to get done for finding this show's episodes. However, some work on finding all of Slime Time Live's episodes was done on September 20th, 2025, when a YouTuber named NixterWixter uploaded a partial recording of an episode of the series that aired on April 18th, 2002, with the recording being around 14 minutes in length, and it, believe it or not, featuring him and his sister when they were kids sitting in the audience. In fact, he even mentions where you can find him and his sister in the episode, if you guys are curious. Spider-Man 2 Enter Electro was an action-adventure video game that was released in 2001 for the first PlayStation console, that was developed by Vicarious Visions as a sequel to Neversoft's Spider-Man video game that was released in 2000, with it continuing where the previous game's story left off, centering around Spider-Man as he attempts to thwart a criminal conspiracy that is being orchestrated by Electro. And just like in the previous game, it featured several Spider-Man villains as bosses, including the Shocker, the Lizard, Hammerhead, Sandman, and of course Electro. Upon its release, it would receive mixed reviews from critics, with it being given scores that were not as high as the first game's scores, with critics citing the choice of villains being more obscure than its predecessor, the game's short length of time to complete, and the game's divisive storyline as reasons as to why they didn't like it as much as the first game. And also, the game would become somewhat infamous for it getting delayed in September 2001 and undergoing several changes due to the final level taking place on top of the World Trade Center, alongside various other references in it that were considered inappropriate, which were changed due to the recent 9/11 attacks that had happened, resulting in them being censored/changed as any slight references to the attacks were deemed too sensitive towards any players. Alright, so now let's get into what this entry is about. In the years after the game's release, there was a rumor going around that there was supposed to be an additional scene in the game's final cutscene after Electro is defeated, which was believed to feature a cameo appearance from the Marvel Comics hero Thor, which was meant to explain a gag that happens later on in the final cutscene that shows Spider-Man lamenting a news article that gives Thor all the credit for defeating Electro instead of him. And for many years, there was no evidence to back up the rumor, despite a good amount of people claiming it was real, with the majority of them assuming that it was removed amongst all the other stuff that was taken out in the post-9/11 version of the game, due to the sequence taking place on top of the World Trade Center. However, that theory many people had would eventually appear to be less likely when the pre-9/11 version of the game surfaced, which did not feature Thor in the final cutscene at all. During the time when the scene's existence was not proven, there were many retellings about how it went, with most claiming that it involves Spider-Man and Thor speaking on top of the Twin Towers after Electro is defeated. However, there was one retelling from someone on the internet that was more detailed than anyone else's, which came from a Reddit user named Mr. Fiji with his retelling saying, quote, "The clip I saw starts with Spidey throwing Electro's harness on the ground and I think he webs it up. At this point, Thor randomly flies in and strikes a bolt of lightning down on it, destroying the harness. Then, at that point, the two of them chit-chat about stuff, and the scene ends." Unquote. Eventually on June 3rd, 2023, the rumored Thor scene would finally have some solid proof to back up its existence, when a Discord user named Spider-Glider found a backup of an image on an archive link from Activision's now defunct Spider-Man video game website using the Wayback Machine, which shows a thumbnail-sized view of Spider-Man and Thor that appeared to most likely be a screenshot from a scene in the game, which people believe to be from the game's final cutscene, since it perfectly lined up with the retellings that people were saying before, with it appearing to show Spider-Man and Thor talking on top of the World Trade Center just like how people remembered. So now everyone knew that the rumored Spider-Man and Thor cutscene most likely existed in the game at some point. However, the image still had yet to be proven that it came from the exact scene that everyone was looking for, aka the final cutscene. But thankfully, progress towards proving it was from the final cutscene would soon be made, which began when Discord user Bungus Bungaloid found that the origin of the image was from a downloads page on the website that I just mentioned, with the page being archived and still viewable via the Wayback Machine. And upon him visiting the page, he discovered that the image did in fact originate from a scene, confirming to everyone that there was a Spider-Man and Thor cutscene that was planned to be in the game at some point. And not only that, but he also discovered that the scene was once available to download directly from Activision's website. So with further link tracing, he found a 4.6 megabyte file and that it was hosted at this website to download, although there was unfortunately no active download link for it that survived. So for the time being, the only material from the Spider-Man and Thor scene was the image that Spider-Glider found, and it would be the only material from it for over 2 years until September 22nd, 2025. When a Reddit user named BobbyFan85 made a post to the Lost Media subreddit that contained a link to the lost scene, which he had saved on an old hard drive, as well as stating in his post, "I knew I had downloaded it years ago when it was released, so I dug out my old hard drives and found it. It says I downloaded it on October 16th, 2001. I just uploaded it to my Instagram page. I think I can put the link to it here." And just like what he said in his post, BobbyFan85 would upload the scene to his Instagram account, making it available for everyone to watch, as well as release the original file for it that existed on the Activision website to download back in 2001, which was later preserved on the Internet Archive thanks to Bungus Bungaloid.
Hi, Thor. Nice of you to show up. Little late, though.
Spider-Man? Surely thou doth not possess power enow to make the very heavens shake as they did?
Not me. He doth. I mean, or did.
Once again, thou hast proven thy mettle as a warrior born. Fare thee well, webbed one.
Thanks for the cameo, though, really.
Well, the video is currently more than halfway done right now, and judging by you, the viewer still watching up to this point, I'm thinking that there is a chance you might be into this kind of content, and if so, then you can consider subscribing to my channel, as I upload videos talking about lost media just like this one. And also, I will be making a video covering November and December 2025 found media too. So if you don't want to miss out on that video, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to get notified when it gets uploaded. Anyways, let's continue the video. In April of 2012, Ubisoft would release a game on Facebook that was developed by Ubisoft Paris called Rabbids Invasion, and it featured these characters you are seeing right here called Rabbids, who made their debut in the 2006 video game Rayman Raving Rabbids, which was a spin-off game from the Rayman video game series, to which they would become popular with gamers and end up getting their own franchise dedicated to them. The main objective in Rabbids Invasion was to invade a world that is run by humans and cause chaos, as well as collect experience and items that would be useful during later points in the game. And it had both a single player mode and a multiplayer mode, in which the player would pair up with a quote-unquote fake friend in the single player mode, and play with up to 5 people in the multiplayer mode, with players being given the ability to invite people on their friends list to the game, as well as give items to them, receive items from them, and complete quests alongside them, among other things. Upon the game being released, it proved to not be very popular, resulting in it being available to play for only less than a year, before Facebook made the game no longer playable on February 13th, 2013, with them giving an unknown reason as to why they did it. But interestingly, an animated TV series that had the same name as the game would premiere in August 2013, only months after the game was made unplayable, which is an interesting coincidence. After the game was made unplayable, it became lost for many years, with it having only a few gameplay videos of it on YouTube. But fortunately, we did recently get all of the game's files on October 2nd, 2025, when Discord user Kenny Real uploaded all of the game's files to Mega, which contain multiple builds of it to play. Just Can't Let Her Go, or Can't Let Her Go if we want to go by its official title, was an unreleased One Direction song that fans believe was going to be included on their then upcoming album Midnight Memories, and fans believed it was going to be on that album due to it being previously leaked, since the group was known to have put leaked songs on their albums, with them being leaked not long before the album they are on releases. However, when the album released in November 2013, the song was nowhere to be found on it, which led fans to wonder why the song didn't make it on the album. Later in 2014, it would be revealed to fans that Just Can't Let Her Go was sold to a 14-year-old musician named Isaac Elliott, who would end up releasing it on one of his own albums with it having altered lyrics. And even later in 2015, a cover version of it was released by YouTuber / singer-songwriter Rajiv Dahl, with his cover being similar to its original version. However, fans were still waiting on the One Direction version of it to be released, as they were eager to hear what the full original recording sounded like, with many wondering if the song was ever fully produced to begin with, as it was never confirmed that it got fully produced prior to the full song being found. But eventually fans would get to hear what the full original recording of Just Can't Let Her Go sounded like on October 9th, 2025. When the full demo of it got leaked, with it currently being unknown how it got found. Well, here's another entry where I pretty much don't need to explain much information about what I'm talking about. I mean, this dude is literally the most subscribed person on the platform this video is uploaded to, so I think I can skip giving him an introduction. Anyways, this entry is about 2 lost MrBeast videos that were once on his channel that got partially found very recently, which are My Crohn's Diet, What I Eat, which got partially found on October 10th, 2025, and Replying to Comments Like a Number 3, which got partially found 1 day later on October 11th, 2025, which were both found by MetalDude627. Also, in case you are wondering, MrBeast has over more than 200 reported videos that were lost at some point, with around 50%-ish of them being entirely found as of now. Also, I don't know how I didn't notice this earlier, but while making this video, I found out that only around 22 seconds of My Crohn's Diet What I Eat was found. And, brace yourselves for this one, I found out that only 1 second of Replying to Comments Like a Number 3 got found, which makes both videos barely even partially found to begin with. But hey, at least you can feel free to watch both the videos' found footage and not feel like your time is being wasted, so at least there's that. Quick entry here, but nevertheless an interesting one. This 1931 cartoon that you are seeing right here, called Her First Egg, was recently found on October 23rd, 2025. And it was found by a YouTuber named Joseph Blau, who uploads vintage films on his channel, and the British Film Institute National Archive. And the cartoon was made by a studio called Terrytoons Incorporated, which made over hundreds of theatrical cartoons from 1930 to 1971, before the studio closed down 1 year later in 1972, with it being founded by American cartoonist, screenwriter, film director, and producer Paul Terry, along with two co-founders named Frank Moser and Joseph Kaufman. In case you are curious as to what the studio is most well known for, they are known today as the studio that created the cartoon character Mighty Mouse and, retrospectively, the cartoon that featured the outdated Spaghetti Bear meme, which was a 1939 cartoon called The Free Bears, as well as producing a good number of cartoons starring the cartoon character Farmer Alfalfa, who was created by Paul Terry all the way back in 1915 before the studio was even founded, and it being the place where Ralph Bakshi, who was the director and writer of the film Fritz the Cat, began his career at. While Terrytoons Incorporated isn't the cartoon studio with the most lost cartoons, it certainly has a good number of them, with most of them that are lost being released during the 1930s. And now we have one less lost Terrytoons cartoon to keep note of. On March 26, 1973, CBS would debut a new game show on their network called The $10,000 Pyramid, that was created by American television game show producer Bob Stewart, with it being hosted by American television and radio personality and television producer Dick Clark, who you might know as the host of American Bandstand from 1956 to 1989. In the $10,000 pyramid, two teams would compete against each other that consist of one contestant and one celebrity, who would take turns in describing various words in 6 categories without using any parts of them, since if they do, then those words get thrown out. And the team with the most points in the end goes on to the winner's circle, where they do something similar to what they were doing before, except one member of the team describes words to his/her teammate that are being shown on a large pyramid, while the other contestant, who is facing away from the pyramid, describes the words that are being described to him/her, and is supposed to try to guess all of the described words on the pyramid in a certain amount of time. And every correct guess wins the non-celebrity contestant an amount of money, with them winning $10,000 if they correctly guess all of the words. And if the contestant fails to guess all of the words, then they just win the money they earn that is based on how many words they guess correctly. Upon it premiering on CBS, the $10,000 Pyramid would become a successfully popular show, before its ratings would decline due to more viewers watching the original version of Jeopardy on NBC. And despite it proving to be a popular show amongst viewers for some time, it would eventually get cancelled just 1 year later. Although, in the years after it was cancelled, several incarnations of it would air on television, with its most recent incarnation, the $100,000 Pyramid, premiering on ABC in 2016 and still airing new episodes as of now. So at least the show created a franchise surrounding it. Also, I should mention that the show was later picked up by ABC not long after it was cancelled, and aired new episodes on that network from 1974 to 1976. With the show having aired a total of 673 episodes on CBS and ABC prior to its second and final cancellation. Considering that the $10,000 Pyramid was airing during the mid-1970s, which was during a time when VCR devices were very rare to own due to them being expensive, it is likely that all of the show's episodes were never even taped by anyone once. And not only that, but CBS and ABC would discard of them by wiping their recordings, as it was common for major networks to wipe the tapes of daytime shows such as soap operas and game shows at the time, with them erasing the recordings because they were perceived as not having any continuing commercial value. Since the 1970s, especially the first half of the 70s, was a time when rerunning episodes and releasing home video releases were very rare, and also prior to the 70s as well. While many episodes of the $10,000 Pyramid are currently lost, a number of them are either found or partially found, with the most recent episode finding occurring very recently on October 25, 2025, which was an episode of the show that aired on March 28, 1973 that got completely found when it was uploaded to YouTube by Nick in the ATL, and in the episode it featured actress June Lockhart and film director, producer, screenwriter, actor, and liberal activist Rob Reiner, with the episode being uploaded to dedicate the life of June Lockhart, who had passed away 2 days before the episode got found at the age of 100. Once again, here's another entry that covers a show that I already summarized in my previous Lost Media Found in 2025 video. So if you are curious to watch my summary, you can just go watch that video. But with that being said, after that video was uploaded, 2 more episodes of the Nickelodeon game show Nick Arcade got found, that featured their original Consolation prize plugs, since many of the show's episodes that featured them were replaced with different Consolation prize plugs during reruns of them, so Nickelodeon can feature prizes that are more relevant to the time of them rerunning. And those 2 found episodes were both found on October 26, 2025. And those were some pieces of Lost Media found in September and October 2025. So now we shall see what Lost Media November and December 2025 will bring us, the final 2 months of this year. And until those months are over, I will see you guys in my next and final Lost Media Found in 2025 video.